What is up, everybody? That was the Rice Hat diss track. That was absolutely awesome. We showcased it on one of the Too Cool for Schools recently. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I'm not going to show mine. I just figured that'd be a fun little starting soon screen. So, anyway, hopefully I have the right PowerPoint up because the title screen right off the rip is incorrect. So yeah, it's just wrong. Okay, so this is actually the season two award ceremony. I did definitely do a copy and paste, but I wanted to get into it. We had our second season of the StarCraft Underground League, and I have to say that it's been a really humbling experience. It has been a lot of fun to host this for everyone. There's been so much amazing StarCraft being played, and quite a community that is starting to form around the four different teams that have stood up, right? That being Savage, Chaos, Unhinged, and Legion, which spells out SCUL. And it's been a lot of fun. I also want to shout out everyone that has been providing Prime subs, that has donated to the Patreon or the Coffee website. All of those donations have gone 100% into prize pools. We've been doing the $50 tournaments in the SCU brackets, which has been a lot of fun. And it has attracted some higher skill players. And we've been seeing a lot of really tough competition and something that they can get a little bit of beer money or something for. So, what this is going to be, we're going to go through here real quick. And I want to highlight some of the differences from what we've seen in this journey so far. And I want to get off of this first slide because it's the wrong title. But I want to kind of reach back and I want to look at where we've come from and where we're at now. So if we look back at season 1, and many of the players that played in season 2 weren't even around for season 1, but in season 1 we had these stats. We had 93 rostered players, which was astronomical compared to what I was expecting the interest would be for a league like this. It was rough around the edges. We didn't know what to expect. I'm not good at adminning. I don't know how to host these things. And so there was definitely a bumpy road. So we had 93 rostered players. During that season, it was a shortened season. We had that original format that was a round robin, but it was only 10 players per team facing off against one team at a time. And we had 102 series total. And that was amazing. I remember at the end of season 1, we were thinking, wow, we played so much StarCraft. There was 198 maps played out of those 102 series. And something we noticed was that the participation was pretty good, but it didn't really reach down into the depths of the rosters. But of those players that did play, some signed up and didn't play at all. You get that. There was a 65% average participation rate, meaning that on average, every player played 65% of the games that were available, right? So they were either slotted in every single week, or maybe you had some that came in 1 or 2 weeks. This is an average. We also saw season 1, we started off the draft with a 75% rule draft mechanic. Very interesting on paper, but it didn't really turn out how we thought it would in practice. And what ended up happening was we had an average player cost of $45, but anyone that's been around the league for any amount of time can see that that average really is splitting the difference between very high costed players and very low costed players. In season 1, we were really trying to get an idea of how the SCUBuck economy would affect the teams. How do we implement it? I've never seen it done before, and that is really something that makes this league unique. And so if we go into season 2, we can see the increases across the board. We had 117 roster players. That's over 20 players more, which is a 20% increase plus of players that came to SCUL to duke it out. And I have to point out, in season 2, we had a lot of heavy hitters showing up into the league. Season 1 had some very strong players, right? But season 2 really upped the competition. But we also upped the format. We made it so that every team plays 2 other teams at once. 10 player rosters each, or 20 players total. And it was a lot of players that teams had to field. And we knew that this was going to stress the system, but we wanted to make sure that we didn't have a situation like in season 1 where some players weren't getting game time, even though they were very interested in the league. And so 117 rostered players, we saw 274 series played, right? That's not the total number. If every game was played in the season, there would be 320 series that were scheduled. We had 46 forfeits or walkovers. Very interesting stat. This was okay, I think, but it's something that we'd like to tighten up. And I know that captains are working on that for season 3 in bolstering their rosters, using their SCU effectively, and getting through that. But that's going to be a metric that is definitely an eye is going to be kept on, because we want to bring that number down while keeping these series being played going up. So as far as maps played, 639 maps were played. And if anyone has checked the website, we recently broached over 4,000 games played in StarCraft Underground. Very cool. It's on the homepage. It's so much StarCraft in just about a year since this server and this league and brackets were created. We also saw an increase in participation up to 70%, and the average player cost we also saw go up to $56. Now, a lot of this is attributed to we did change the draft mechanic. It was more of a standard bid, and we saw the bids valuing players more in that middle ground above the previous average. So very, very cool. We can see that side by side. If you didn't remember the first one, so you have 93 season 1, 117 all the way down, but the maps played number is absolutely insane. We almost tripled the amount of maps that were being played, and that's so much StarCraft. So much StarCraft. And I wanted to thank everyone again as well. Everyone should pat themselves on the back, especially those players that stuck through Season 1 into Season 2, because we have a lot of rule changes. It's sometimes hard to remember that this league is extremely new, and we're learning as we go. Now, after Season 2, I think that we are at a place where the rules have generated a system, for the most part, that will be self-contained and have longevity to it. But early on in Season 1, it was not that way. And going into Season 2, we had to make a lot of changes. We changed the draft mechanic from the 75% rule to a normal standard bid. Highest bid gets the player rule. Contracts were introduced, but very thoughtfully done, right? I got to give shout out to Manadog, especially when it comes to the financial impact of the contracts, inflation, in order to standardize the economy over time. It's going to make a lot of sense, especially as the prices from the Season 1 draft start turning over in the league. It also makes for a lot of drama and a lot of fun. Inflations, as I just mentioned, this is something, a new mechanic to the league that is really generating a lot of interesting results and putting a very large burden on our captains. Captains, we've seen changes. In Season 1, we started off with Least on Unhinged, changed over to Memnon. On Chaos, we just saw a captain change over from Mutiler to G5. And then trades, we are also seeing the first iteration of trades during this season. We've had 2 trades occur so far, and I know that there's discussions that there might be more coming. So very, very fun. A lot of very interesting things going on. Now, I've talked about Season 1, I've talked about Season 2, the rules changes. Naturally, this creates a lot of friction. This creates a lot of demand and need for leadership within the community, within the league, to make sure that this goes smoothly, that the players are having a good time, and that we're hosting a league that is competitive, and that they have people that they can reach to for answers and know that their team is being managed in their best interest. And so I just wanted to give a big shout out to all of our captains, right? You can see here we have Savage being captained by Mick Taryn, Chaos recently taken by G5, but you can see down there in the bottom our bronzed out Mutiler, who was Chaos for both Season 1 and Season 2. Unhinged, we have Memnon, who took it from Least. Least built the team, Memnon took it and ran it through the remainder of Season 1 and Season 2. And then Legion, we have our captain, Manadog. So big round of applause to the captains. They put in a lot of work behind the scenes. They put up with a lot of bullshit from me, normally telling me how stupid I am, and then me going, nuh-uh, and then them proving that I'm actually stupid. So they have to deal with my personality as we go through this league. And that takes a lot of patience, and I really respect their opinions and everything that they've done for the league. So big love for the captains. And also, they've been doing a lot of work. Season 2 was a much bigger burden from a format perspective because of how they had to line up their players. They're facing 2 fronts every week. They're dealing with 2 other captains every week. and those captains are dealing with two other captains. It was a much bigger lift for them every week to generate fair and fun matchups that put their team at an advantage. So cannot undersell how much each of these individuals have done for the teams, and I look forward to them sticking around and doing more. All right, to the final reveal. If you've been living under a rock, this is where we're at. I think everyone missed the applause because my desktop volume was off, but that's okay because it was really obnoxious. As you can see, first place we have Savage with a record of 9, 2, and 3 ties. The last number is ties here during the season 2. Their overall career prestige is sitting at 140 prestige, which no one really seems to care about. I don't know if we'll continue it. I think it's a cool stat though, so it's pretty low impact to keep going. Second place, we had Chaos, and this was a very interesting second place. Chaos and Legion duking it out all season, and it came down to that semifinals match where the scores could not be tighter. Chaos came out with the win, went up to face against Savage, and had a very, very close finals as well. They ended up with a record of 7, 6, and 1 with a career prestige count of 112. Legion sat in third place, record 7, 5, and 2 with a prestige count of 133. And then Unhinged in fourth place with a record of 2, 12, and 0 with prestige count of 75. I do want to point out, one of those 2 wins from Unhinged was actually Savage. So kind of an interesting stat. One of the weeks that they won and one of the weeks that Savage lost were against each other. So very, very interesting. So that is the teams. Congratulations to all teams. Everyone put in a lot of effort, and I think most people had a lot of fun. I also want to point out Chaos's new logo. It is no longer the hurricane. We did have a community submitted image here. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting who submitted it. If anyone remembers in the chat, please mention it so I can give them credit. But yeah, very, very cool. Has to do with like the butterfly effect and all that. Yeah, Fuzzy did. Thank you so much, Fuzzy, for submitting the Chaos logo. Okay, now into player awards. So in season 2, we had players that really stood out among the best. We had players that showed up every week and they dominated the field. These are the players that get the absolute biggest bang for buck for their teams. Well, maybe not bang for buck with regard to SCU, but bang for buck in the player slots, absolutely. And so this season's most valuable players are Harry from Team Savage with a Season 2 record of 7 and 1. The second time earning this prestigious award. Now remember, to be eligible to be a most valuable player, you have to play every week. So it's the best record of players that play every single week and they show up. Harry has done that twice. G5, who was leading the league and was undefeated until he faced up against Mars, who took his only loss in the entire season, is G5 on Team Unhinged with a Season 2 record of 7 and 1. Nomad, Team Savage with a Season 2 record of 7 and 1. So congratulations to all of our most valuable players in the league. These are the hot players if you're looking for trades, if you're looking for those players that are going to show up, participate, and put points on the board. Now, next up, it's not just important to be someone that wins every single week. It's also important to be a player that can show up and take a slot, prevent a forfeit, and be there for your team. And so the next slide is going to be our Ironman awardees, who are players that showed up every single week, which was an 8-week season. And we have a lot of them. Here for Savage, we have Cygrast, Royo, Champion, Nomad, Harry, Sva, and Mevius. For Chaos, we've got Killa Ace, Remap, Rice Hat, Discovery, Art of Turtle, Quim, and Firetip. For Unhinged, we have G5, Melodved, AZK, Memnon, Hacker J, Sklur, and Wolfix. And for Legion, we have GG Nori, Shafir, Styx, and Mars. So congratulations to all of our Ironman awardees. You should be receiving bling on the website, which reminds me, I forgot to tell Champion about the awards. He specifically asked me to tell him what the awards would be so he could do that, and I forgot. But they will come. It will come. So thank you to all these players. These are the players that really keep the league going. If we don't have people showing up every week and competing, the league falls apart. We can't get the data that we need to really fine-tune the format, and it's just not fun. Yeah, GG no re. Okay, so we have the players that showed up every week and kicked ass. We have the players that showed up every week with mixed results. But there's got to be one. There's got to be one player that shows up every week and fights adversity and gets punched square in the face. This player is our sacrificial lamb. It is being handed off from Ed and Eddie. Ed and Eddie? Was it Ed and Eddie? I don't remember who it was last season. But it is being handed off to none other than Melodved. Team Unhinged with a record of 0-8. Congratulations, Melodved, for being this season's sacrificial lamb. Now, this is a little bit of a joke, right? Do not take this personally. In all honesty, showing up for your team and losing, but continuing to show up is really that kind of player mentality that we want here in SCUL, in SCU, where participation matters more than anything else. So congratulations. Thank you for showing up for everyone. Now, we've talked about the economy, the different ways of earning SCU bucks in StarCraft Underground is using the StarCraft Underground brackets and performing well. You can earn SCU bucks. And then towards the end of the season, we also implemented the opportunity to cast to earn SCU bucks. And so this year, we had one player that stood out among the rest this season and earned more SCU bucks than any other player during the season. And this season's cash cow is none other than Doodle Doodle. Congratulations, Doodle Doodle, on Team Savage, who earned a whopping 60 SCU bucks for his team. Now, this was primarily through tournaments. Doodle Doodle often participates in the money tournaments, the season or the level 3 tournaments, where those prize pools are really big. And he does well, and he earns very well. But we also had the casting side. And so, as a caster, it takes a lot of time. Season 1, I tried to do a bunch of it. There was a lot less maps. Season 2, I didn't have the time. I needed to call among the community and see who could step up. There was one player that stepped up more than the rest and casted more than everyone else. And so this, hold on, let me allow some auto mods in the chat. There we go. So this season's Content Creator Prize goes to Staged, with a total of 8 series casted. And I forgot to put the team name here, but I'm pretty sure Stage is on Team Chaos. So congratulations, Stage, and thank you so much for showcasing the amazing gaming and StarCraft that this community has to offer. Now, speaking of hype, someone like Stage generates a lot of hype, but some matches seem to matter more to the community than others. For one reason or another, a lot of people in the community are a part of other Brood War communities, be that UPL, PG, CPL. There's so many, the different clans that exist, and sometimes when players play, it draws a bit of attention. And so this season's most hyped match is none other than Legion vs. Chaos, Dork Moon Blade versus Strom Carlin. You can see in the right, this is a snippet I took while I was watching this match. And you can just see the number of players. It goes off the screen, right? It starts way up here at Ash Green and goes all the way down to Via Dia. And this was just one moment. There might have been more that showed up, but this was what SCUL is all about. When you're playing against other teams, having your teammates showing up, rooting for you, and then after the match, all your teammates telling you what you could have done better, slapping you on the back, giving you the hug emoji. It's a team sport. We're turning a 1v1 game into a team sport, and this match really showcased that the community can turn out. So congratulations, Dorkmoon and Strom. You guys had the most hyped match this season. Now, you know, when we talk about these matches and going back to your team Discord server or team channel, Season 1, we didn't see a lot of team chemistry being built. The channels weren't very active. Season 2 had a lot more of that. Now, there's differences in who's talking, whether it's just jokes or if it's StarCraft-related knowledge that's being spread among the team members, whether it's practice games. All of the teams kind of have a different dynamic, which is really interesting to see. But there was one team that I think nurtured StarCraft knowledge and focused on skill more than the others. And there was one person that I think stood head and shoulders above the others when it came to doing their best to educate their team, be present, and download knowledge. And so this season's Jedi Master Award goes to the Brotherhood, Tom on Team Legion. Tom would show up and he would give so much Zerg advice. Any Zerg could come into the Legion chat, start asking questions, and Tom would write you a novel, a well thought out novel, and examples. And so there's a few honorable mentions that are associated here. There's players that also educate the StarCraft community and help the SCUL community without doing it in SCUL. And so I did want to give a shout out to Wolfix, who recently started a Terran F to S series that has gained a lot of traction. And I love it because it's something that's referred to as like evergreen content, right? In 10 years' time, when SCUL is being played on Mars or whatever, people are going to look back to that kind of content and get better and bring it to the community. But Tom was doing it within the community, and he was doing it very well. So congratulations, Tom. Well earned. Now, Mevius, I'm in all the servers. Except Savage's. Savage has their own. I don't know what's going on with Savage. Speaking of teams and players that contribute to the community and contribute to the betterment of the team, there's the players themselves and their skill. But this is a team sport with a captain, and there's strategy that goes beyond each individual 1v1 match. And so each team, they kind of percolate up. And I don't have complete visibility of this, but there's always someone that wants to crunch the numbers. SCUL has a lot of data. It has a lot of spreadsheets. It has the website, which has a lot of data. It's got map win-loss records. It's got who beats who. It has different race percentages. You can really dig in and try to play Moneyball, so to speak, as it keeps getting brought up, and find what works best for your team, and then going into preseason, start formulating a strategy for what does best. And so, with that being said, this year's Analyst Award goes to none other than Noob Tier. So, Noob Tier, or let me back up a little bit. Season 1, we saw Navain win this award. Navain had done a lot of work when it comes to matchup analysis. Who should beat another player, right? Player v player, what are the odds based on self-evaluation and data available? Very interesting, very competitive. Noob Tier is taking his expertise and applying it towards the economy. How do we approach drafting? How do we approach managing inflation? How do we approach maximizing our roster? Maybe not min-maxing the player skill, but how do we do the best to actually make the roster as efficient from a SCUBUck standpoint as possible? And I thought it was really, really cool. And so I wanted to give Noob Tier the credit he deserves for coming up with some of this information. I would love to see Noob Tier and Navain combine forces and come up with a mixture of this data, because I think that there's a lot to be explored here, and both of them are kind of leading the way on that frontier. Now, we've talked about some of the serious stuff, the fun stuff, you know, the instruction, the teams, the stats, the analysis, all the nerdy stuff. There's something here for everybody. But there's also a community aspect. We don't talk much about community impact. And with SCUL being as young as it is, we don't have a lot of lore, right? We don't have a lot of stories. We don't have a lot of drama. But there was one incident that I think is now going to go down in the hallmark of SCU and SCUL history. And it doesn't require too much explanation, I think, but I don't even know how to title this award. But I'm going to call it the Arts and Crafts Award. And so the Arts and Crafts Award this season goes to Exit on Team Unhinged, who has expanded the lore within SCUL and put additional meaning behind such a plain, ordinary object, such as a pair of scissors. Maybe he's good at scissors, using scissors. Scissoring? I don't know the verb. But that is where it's at, and now that is a part of SCUL lore. So congratulations, Exit, for the Arts and Crafts Award. Now, in addition to community lore, the community only exists because of a few very helpful players that do a lot of really great things for the player base and everyone that comes and is welcomed into the community and the league. Could not do it without them. And so this season, I wanted to recognize several players, kind of each individually with the league support appreciation. And these players really stood out among the rest. We have Champion, who I cannot thank enough for the website. This was a volunteer effort by Champion. It's maintained by him, and it provides a lot of data and a lot of really fun features that go above and beyond any type of esport league that I've found. You can find data on players. You go to the home screen, you see the most recent cast. You're interested about a match that was casted, you click on it, it's there. You can find heat maps of the matches without even opening the replay to see generally what happened in the game if you have the knowledge to do so. Very, very cool technology. And I mean, honestly, he could sell this to esports leagues, I have no doubt, and do very well. So very, very cool. Next player is Keen. Keen was the Content Creator Peace Prize after Season 1. And I really want to appreciate him again for the support that he brings with the Too Cool for School weekly podcast. I love talking about SCUL. I try to hold back in the Discord and in other Discord servers because I can just talk about it forever. In fact, I've made a recent rule for myself that whenever someone puts a suggestion, I'm going to wait 24 hours now before I respond because I'm just so eager to chomp at the bit and talk about it and give my ideas. That's how I feel. And to have someone like Keen who feels the same and wants to sit down every week and talk about it, and we can just shoot the shit about our predictions, what it should look like, his takes as a player, and with someone with more experience than myself in the StarCraft community, has been a lot of fun. And we missed a couple weeks, but it was never Keen's fault. It was always my fault. And Keen was always the one chomping at the bit to do it and host it and provide that content and that outlet for the few members of the community that also appreciate nerding out on this topic. So thank you, Keen. I wanted to appreciate Hazareth. Hazareth really stepped up and helped me out. The league, as it was evolving, specifically when we started implementing contracts and all these rule changes and lots of feedback and lots of frustrations on my end, Hazareth volunteered along with a couple other volunteers, Noobtier, Yakub, and several others, volunteered to help me out and do brackets. And so I piloted it with Hazareth. I haven't expanded beyond that, but Hazareth did a phenomenal job of going into challenge and helping me catch the brackets, host the brackets, and track them, which really did save my butt for a few weeks there where I was pretty burnt out. And so much love to Hazareth. Thank you so much. Huge pillar of this community. And then also, even though I haven't done Marbles Night in a long time, every Marbles Night, he comes out of the woodwork and is down to play and kick my ass. It's good times. Melodved, not just the sacrificial lamb this season, but also we have in the server, it's kind of a slow burning pilot, if you will, of a noob channel. So if you have the true noob role, or if you're new to StarCraft, I'm talking like E rank and below, just picking it up. We have a hidden channel for those players where they can play against each other, practice, and they have their own little brackets that are separate from the rest of the SCU community, just for practice and fun. Melodved has really taken on the role of hosting events. We've only had a couple, sometimes attendance is weak, but we've had one or two where a lot of people come out of the woodwork and play in these noob events. We've done fastest maps, we've done team games. It's pulled in other players that weren't even in the true noob role, so to speak, and we've had a lot of fun. And so I wanted to just share the appreciation there with Melodved. Thank you. I think that introducing new players to a hard and old game is tough, and being able to find that little spot in the StarCraft community can really change the dynamic and grow the community, which is kind of tough to do with this game. Other honorable mentions, I didn't list them out here, but just kind of ad-libbing. Again, I really want to emphasize my appreciation for the captains. The captains have really been a phenomenal sounding board. They have been worked to death when it came to these seasons. And the biggest thing, again, not just the captains, but the players, the patience as we learn how to change the rules, right? It's very tough as a captain to have a plan for a league where you're supposed to have a team for multiple seasons and you bid a certain way, you get players a certain cost, and then you have a grandfathered in rule that says, hey, you may lose a bunch of players, or hey, these players' prices are going to inflate, it can be very frustrating, right? All while trying to balance a little bit of the dynamic where we have potentially a dynasty team. And so I just really wanted to express my gratitude there. I also wanted to express my gratitude for everyone that does show up and stream in the server. It's really the activity generates more activity. And when people come in and we have hyped matches like Dorkmoon and Strom, and there was a couple others, I think 10P versus Rice Hat was another really big one that was like second place when it came to hyped matches in StarCraft Underground. And the players that show up in their team channels and they stream in their team channels for practice purposes, all of this stuff really goes a really far way with the league. Mick, yeah, you just showed up, dude. You missed everything. But there's really just too much thanks to be spread around. Please tell your friends, tell your wife, tell your dog's wife, join SCUL. We've been seeing a huge influx of players coming into the server recently, and I love to see it. Season 3 is going to be an absolute banger. And so that's going to conclude the award ceremony. I'm going to, while we have a few people here, I'm going to pull up the schedule that we're expecting for Season 3, just so everyone is on the same page. So, looking at the schedule here, we had the Season 2 end on Sunday. We're here at awards ceremony. Player resignations. If you were going to resign your team, you should have let your captain already know. Trade window opens. This was on Tuesday. We've already had a couple of trades be executed. And then here's the award ceremony. And if you have resigned your team, there's been a lot of discussion about this. I apologize. I have not been very clear in my communication going into the Season 3 preseason. That's my bad. No excuses. But there's certain points whenever you see an action on the schedule is when those things will happen. So a lot of people are signing up again because they think that their contract is being dropped and they're not being extended. People are signing up again because they think that they're, whatever the case may be. You don't have to, you can, I'll filter through those names, but these will be the points in time in which those occur. So award ceremony is today. After today, I'm going to go through, and if you have resigned from your team, meaning you still had time in your contract or you don't want to play in SCUL anymore and you left your team, then you will be pulled from your team server tonight. If you decide to play in SCUL again after having resigned, you'll incur a 2-week penalty. You won't be able to play for the 2 weeks that you're picked up. This is to incentivize staying with your team, honoring your contract with your team. Trade window closes on the 27th. It's a little over a week. It's not a super long time for a trade window, but to be honest, I don't think we need more time than this. The captains generally know what they want very early on in the trade window, as you're kind of seeing, and it's either going to be executed or it's not. They don't have a ton of options. This is something where the discussions are pretty brief. It's like, hey, can we do this? Sure. And if you're a player, I recommend you read the trade rules just so you understand your rights in the situation. And we go from there. So trade window will close on the 27th. Upon completion of trades, it happens immediately. I pull you from your team server and you go over to your new team channel, I should say, not server. Now on the 5th of July, this is going to be the big moment. Okay, so 5th of July is when the contract extensions have to be decided by the captains. This is also when contracts expire. So we'll decide who is going to be extended for the 10% cost increase on a team and who doesn't. If you're up for extension and your contract is up and you're not going to receive an extension from your captain, you will be returning to the free agent pool at this time. If you do have an extension, then you'll be notified and you'll stay with your team for another season. If after, I'm getting ahead of myself. On the 11th, inactive players are dropped. So sometimes you get someone, you get them for a few seasons, they're not resigning because they're just not talking. We have a few of those. So the definition of an inactive player is someone that didn't play any games, or we know that they're leaving school and they're not coming back. That's an inactive player. This allows the captains to drop them from their roster and not incur an economic penalty. Okay, next we have the 14th. This is the second big day. So the 5th was contract extensions, etc. The 14th is when the money that the teams owe the bank for the contract prices gets pulled from their account. The reason why this is important is because everything leading up to the inactive player drops could have their budget a little bit beyond where the captain can actually afford. If the team is under budget, then they have to drop players until they're under their budget. But no more. You can't be dropped for free. And that's all outlined in the rules. But this is going to be the second kind of exodus of players. We're going to have the lack of extensions, and then we're going to have the people that if the captains didn't manage their funds correctly, that get dropped. If you're dropped for budget, you'll go into a separate pool and you'll have the opportunity to be purchased at a discount by the other teams prior to the draft. If you're not purchased, then you go into the free agent pool. All outlined in the rules. I'm not going to belabor it, but the date I think is important because a lot of people are talking about extensions and budget, but they don't really understand when they need, they'll be pulled from their server or their channel. Don't worry about it. We've got time. It's all being played out. Now, signups. This is a pretty long signup period. If you look back here, signups started on the 14th. They're going to go for over a month. And they're going to close on the 16th. So if you have friends that are joining the server, if you're new to StarCraft Underground, if you want to play in StarCraft Underground and you're just hearing about it for the first time, join the Discord server. There's a channel called Signups. Ask someone, they can point you there. And you just have to click on the poll yes, and you'll be signed up for the free agent pool, and every player will get drafted. Right now, draft night is scheduled for the 17th of July. This is tentative, but it is intentionally designed for the 17th. UPL is having a LAN in Toronto, and this is meant to be hopefully something that can add to their experience while they're all there together. They can watch the draft together, talk shit, see where they go, etc. Now we have a little bit of a lull until Season 3 start. Season 1 and Season 2, we did draft night usually on that Friday or Thursday, and then we went straight into the season that weekend. We're going to have a little bit more of a break this time. Let the teams get to know each other, practice, and then gear up for the beginning of Season 3, where we'll kick off lineups on the 26th and we'll be off to the races. As far as format, Season 3 will be the same format as Season 2. There's still decision making kind of up in the air about whether or not we'll swap out a map. I don't think we'll go beyond one map if we do, just to mix it up a little bit, but nothing crazy. All right, that's actually it. Are there any questions? If not, that's okay. All right, y'all. Well, thank you so much for another phenomenal season. Congratulations to our award winners, and tell your friends we're gearing up for Season 3. Let's go ahead and find someone to raid, and I'll send you all on your merry way. Who we got out there? Let's see if there's anyone from SCUL that decided to stream instead of watch this. There's Nightcat. What else we got? Got Terror. Let's go ahead and raid Gypsy. Because he's actually playing StarCraft. A lot of the other people aren't playing StarCraft right now, it seems like. All right, guys. Thanks, everyone. See you in Season 3.
Sometimes you only go for sometimes